Today we're going to take a look at what we call the HTML5 Shim, or you've also maybe heard it as the Shiv. They're sort of used interchangeably. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown on why we need to use it, and then we'll cover just a little bit of the history. So in modern browsers, everything's fine. You don't need to worry about anything. Here we have an article that contains a blog posting. We can style that, give it a background color of red, come back. It's going to work swimmingly. No problem there whatsoever. However, if you view this page in Internet Explorer 8 or below, what you're going to find is, strangely, that red is not showing up at all. Isn't that weird? And it's because Internet Explorer does not recognize these new tags. So not only does it not recognize them, but it will not style them at all. It's a little bit odd, isn't it? So this seemed like it was going to be a big hurdle because, of course, you can't suddenly ignore all of the Internet Explorer 8 users. This was the big problem with XHTML2 or even 1.1, and we don't want to go down that road again. So it was discovered a long time ago, maybe 2008-ish, and this is the comment that really changed everything. By the way, if you want CSS rules to apply to unknown elements in IE, you just have to do document.createElement. This somehow lets the CSS engine know that elements with that name exist. Before this occurred, nobody knew that you could do that. It was pretty interesting. And then John Resig wrote about it, and he called it the HTML5 Shiv, which he admits that wasn't the correct term. It actually should have been Shim. A Shiv is something that you would murder somebody in prison with, but that's how it goes. So the way it would work is if we create document.createElement, in this case, article, that process alone somehow triggers Internet Explorer into recognizing it. So try it out. Find Internet Explorer 8, Internet Explorer 7, load up a virtual box if you need to, and test it out. Without this line, Internet Explorer will not recognize the article tag and will not allow you to style it. So it will not have the background of red. But when you add document.createElement in your JavaScript, that seemingly does the trick. And I can't tell you why. I'm sure there's a deep reason behind it, but for me, it's good enough to know that process alone will do the trick for you. So then what you would want to do is do this for all of the tags that you're creating. Or you could place them all within an array and then run a quick for or while statement through them to create the elements. But because this has been done so commonly, Remy Sharp, who is a very popular and well-known web developer. He wrote Introducing HTML5, if you're familiar with that book, along with Bruce Lawson. He created a script called HTML5 Enabling Script, and it's available on Google Code. So if I open this up, this does a handful of things. At first, it simply would filter through and create those elements, and you just link to it. You don't have to worry about that. But then it was also found that there were some issues where when you would print an Internet Explorer, you had that same problem again. So at one point a couple years ago, Remy took a solution that somebody had created and integrated that into the HTML5 Shim as well. So now all you have to do is when you're creating HTML5 applications, which is going to be every single website or application from now on, you'll simply want to place that at the top like so. And I want you to note that we are specifying that this will only be included for Internet Explorer 8 or below. This says if less than IE 9, so Internet Explorer 8, 7, 6. And the reason why we're doing that is Firefox and Chrome and Safari and Opera, they're not going to benefit from this script at all. So in those browsers, we really don't want to add that additional HTTP request. We only want it for IE 8. So you will want to update, if you have a little template you use for new websites, you want to make sure that this is in there. Alternatively, if you use something like Modernizer, Modernizer integrates this, so you do not need to include both.